Wednesday, session 2, complex I-130 cases. What is an I-130? It's a family-based immigration where you're petitioning your family members. It could be your spouse. It could be your children. It could be a minor. It could be somebody who's already married. It could be your siblings if you're a U.S. citizen. It's all of the above. Some of these are quite unique and some of them are quite complex. And so how do you resolve these particular issues? We're here to share with you the top 10 things we learned from this session. It was phenomenal. Let's go.
This presentation mostly focused on I-130s based on bona fide marriage. And one of the first things that they mentioned was basically to gather as much documentation at the beginning. Sometimes clients are very anxious and they'll pressure you to file as soon as possible, but filing as much as possible at the beginning will avoid RFEs down the line and will hopefully even waive interviews.
In the past, right, I'm talking about like a few years ago, I-130s, super straightforward. Form, key documents, that's it. But recently, we've been seeing so many requests for evidence from people who filed themselves and they don't know how to deal with the request for evidence. Online forums didn't tell them to present all these things. They're worried, they're scared, and if it gets denied, they have to re-wait a couple years, right? I-130s could take an extremely long time to adjudicate.
The second thing that they emphasized during this presentation was to really double check all of your information, not only on one of the forms, but basically sometimes there's multiple forms, so cross comparing information. Basically, like let's say you were born on one date and then you were registered years later. This could cause a huge RFE, potentially a denial. We've seen some of our clients come and hire us based on that exact situation.
One key trick is to do a FOIA. A Freedom of Information Act, to request the documents of what USCIS has on file to see, oh, that's what I've previously filled out, right? If you can't wait that long for the FOIA, you just have to fill out. You can list the other dates that's potentially used. That way you don't have to do a FOIA first, but then you need to do a detailed explanation as to why.
And then the third point is basically in regards to the type of documents that you have to prove bona fide marriage. If you don't have a lot of the strong conventional documents or you just got married, you really want to get creative. So this means gathering affidavits from your coworkers, your friends, presenting, for example, social media posts, or if you don't have a social media account, also explaining why you don't have one, especially since nowadays most people have at least one type of social media. The fourth point that they mentioned was in regards to how an officer will review the I-130s. And pretty much the standard of proof is a preponderance of evidence.
More likely than not. So if it's 50-50, it's 51-49 that your case is real. However, that even though that is the legal standard that is upheld in the courts, officers are not trained judges, are not trained lawyers. And so what does that mean? Again, you explain to them it's more likely than not, and then you do your best to still prepare as much as you can, right?
And the fifth point has to do with getting a request for evidence. And in that case, AILA recommends that you always respond regardless of your situation. If the RFE is requesting new documents that you previously submitted, just resubmit everything once again and just kindly remind the officer that you've already submitted.
Again, they might have not scanned it, they might have disassembled it incorrectly, it could have been lost. It's not you, it's them. Here it is again.
So what if you have a really difficult RFE and you have like very specific questions? Maybe it's pretty confusing as to where or how you should file. What should you do or who can you contact?
If you can directly talk to the officer that is adjudicating the case, that will be wonderful, right? Here's a couple ways that you can directly get in contact with the officers. I know every attorney on their cover letter, when they write, it's like, if you have any questions or concerns, please contact us, right? But again, because everybody does it, it is basically, useless. If you want the officer to directly contact you over a specific issue, and it can't just be general, right? It's like, if you're going to give an RFE, please don't give me an RFE, please contact me. No officer is going to contact you because that makes their job more difficult. But if you can make their job easier, then they might contact you. You can say, here's all the documents to prove that they lived in different places, but the marriage is real. If you want to talk about it, please directly, this is my cell phone number. You can text me or call me, underline. Now the officer sees the entire case and says, oh, there's that particular issue. I would rather spend 1 minute talk to you on the phone and then just approve the case as opposed to RFE and then spend another 20, 30 minutes, right?
And the eighth point that they talked about had to do with interviews, how to deal with different scenarios, how to prepare the client, what type of methods are used. I know you've done a lot of preparation for clients, so what are your methods?
First, I walk them through what to expect, right? So you're being sworn in as if you're before a judge. So just letting them know the seriousness of it all, knowing the seriousness of the matter, how to prepare for it, and then for example, preparing documents, but not shoving it in front of the officer to see, right? You have it so they can see you that you have it and that you're organized. And don't put it in a plastic bag or vanilla because folder because they don't know, they can't see it. If you have your green card, your passport, your tax returns, you have different things, pictures, all right there, already copied, they like it so much more. And they interview you 5 minutes. I see you prepare your documents. Yes, I did. Here you go, officer. They take it. Thank you for doing my job. It's already hole punched accordingly. They put it in their file. Their job is done. You made their job easier.
The ninth point they talked about also had to do with interviews and basically just reminding the client that an officer just is just reviewing an authentic case and not necessarily a perfect one. I think when I heard that, that really resonated with me because clients often try to prepare like this perfect storyline instead of just sharing their real story.
Real story oftentimes is better. And the thing is, reality is stranger than fiction. You know, you can make this up, but you could do your best to explain it. If you present your marriage to saying, we fell in love since we're junior high, and then we got married now, and we made a fortune together, and we have 10 kids together, if you think that is a perfect life, you might be wrong. That might be a miserable life, right? And that might be a miserable story. The point is, you can't build something perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Real, authentic is what they're trying to smell out.
The last takeaway, which is really important, is if you or your client are in an interview and you feel that the officer is being prejudiced or he's being rude, you are entitled to be able to call for a supervisor.
Prejudice, discrimination based on your race, religion, sexual orientation, and all sorts of things. If you feel like they're antagonistic towards you, the request for evidence they have, they totally disregarded all the good that you did and they're just focusing on minor things that they shouldn't focus on and that doesn't relate to the case, you feel like their logic is just way off, all sorts of stuff, you could bring that to attention. Things happen and you could present documents accordingly.
Thank you for watching.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.